Okay, it is that time of the week. It is time to show up. I'm showing up. I'm glad you showed up. I appreciate every last one of you. I'm not even pretending with the Coke tonight. I'm pretty fucking hammered. This is my signature drink, the Dark Teeny. It is constructed from 2 parts Bombay Sapphire Gin, 1 part Sailor Jerry's rum, and a substantial amount of Angostura bitters in the bottom of the glass. About 12 to 15 shakes. Usually I do 13 because I like 13. 13's a good number, but, you know. I've been thinking about maybe doing it with Campari, but Campari is red, and I kind of like the deep golden color of this drink. I really enjoy it, and as you may have noticed from the construction of this drink, it's just straight fucking hard liquor. That's all it is. There ain't no mixer. There ain't nothing. It's just hard fucking liquor in a glass. I am kind of preoccupied tonight with a video I saw earlier today from, what was his name? Let me go look. From Rim DeCoster. Every game is the same game. And this is from a talk he gave at ZenkaiCon this week. And that's a combination of... Back when I used to live on the East Coast, there was a science fiction convention and there was an anime convention in Pennsylvania, and they merged in the early 2000s, a few years after I got to the Northwest, and I never went to either of those conventions because I am a game convention person. I have since started going to more anime. There was always this kind of, yeah, I watch anime, but I'm not a weeb. I'm not a weeaboo. There was always that kind of feel going on with me, and yeah. So I didn't want to go to an anime convention in much the same way that somebody might like to role play as a dog online, but they would never go to a furry convention. And it's the same kind of thing. It's like, oh no, I'm not one of those disgusting weeaboos that goes to anime conventions. I go to gaming conventions. I'm a gamer. And actually I am a disgusting weeaboo. It's just gotten worse and worse over time. But yeah, I'm an enormous turbo weeb, and that's just the way it fucking is. But at the time, there's always this period of denial when you're kind of, no, I do the thing, but I don't do the thing, And it's called denial. It's not just a river in Egypt. Anyway. I was a game convention guy, and I have since started going to anime conventions here and there. I went to one in San Diego a few years back, and I'll tell you this: game conventions are good, but you get laid a lot more at anime conventions. That's my experience. Yeah. A lot more hooking up at the anime convention. Now I went to the Masquerade in Camp Hill, Pennsylvania. That was my Pennsylvania convention that I used to go. I think I still have a pamphlet from that convention somewhere in my collection. I don't know exactly where. I may have shown it in some other video once upon a time, but regardless. Why is my volume on -0.5 dB? It should be on 0. That's not right. Got your penis stuck in the 9. That's not right. Bonus points if you get that reference. Yeah, I've been drinking. Anyway. Anyway, so Rim DeCoster's video was about how games are all the same, and what really struck me about it was just a little ways into it, he brings up the definition of what's called an ortho game, and I was like that meme with Leonardo DiCaprio. I was like, because in the 90s, I had a definition of games, and my definition of games is wrapped up right into the middle of the definition of ortho games. Because an ortho game, and he got this from some textbook kind of thing that some guy wrote. It's one of the guys who created Magic the Gathering, who undoubtedly knows some people that I know who have been talking to me in the past. Because I swear to God, the middle of this definition is mine. That's my definition from back in like the mid-90s. And that's fine. I'm not mad about it. They absolutely should take my definition and say, let's build on this and learn more and understand more about games, about ludology in general, about, you know, how do games work and how are games structured. Absolutely. That's how fucking science works. You take things other people have said and you said, well, here's something more, and this is useful. And I think it is useful to talk about the ortho game, which is a competitive environment where there are rules that constrain play, and the players have agreed upon those rules, and there's a ranking system for players. Now, if you pull that apart, there are 4 bullet points: competitive, rules to constrain play, agreement on the rules, ranking system. Now, you pull the competitive and the ranking system out, that's my definition. Rules that constrain play that all the players have agreed upon. Sex is a game. There are rules that constrain play, and the players have agreed to those rules. You can tell it's a game. Okay? Sex is a game. Relationships are a game. Dating is a game. Marriage is a game. You can tell it's a game because when you don't follow the rules, we call it cheating. Anyway, I really liked that, you know, it was kind of, he was building on to something that I had said 30 years ago. So obviously I thought, well, I'm part of this. So he probably has something interesting to say. And I expected to watch him talk about stuff and go, yep, I knew that. Yep, I knew. I've been saying that for 20 years. And indeed, a lot of the stuff that he was saying, I've been saying for a long time. It's just like he says, every new game that you think is different is really 2 old games put together. It's an old game with one, additional thing. And I've always been like, that's how you build a game. That's how you build a game. It's just like Filthy Perverts Stole My Panties. It's Vampire Survivors, except your experience is your health, and the enemies can pick up experience before you get to it. If you don't get to it before they do, they can pick it up. I think that's interesting. Is it interesting? No? Not yet? I mean, you can play the game, and it's like that, and that's how it works. I mean, the game has this mechanic, and it works, it operates, but is my game more fun than Vampire Survivors? Is it better than Vampire Survivors? Would I ever choose to play well, it's mine. Obviously, I would choose to play my game over Vampire Survivors, but as a gamer, as somebody just looking at games, would I choose to play my game over Vampire Survivors? No. No, not in the state it's in. It's not even worth playing right now in the state that it's in. It's barely a prototype. I think it has potential. And I want to work on that potential. I want to improve that potential. I want to see it realize that potential. And I think I see down the road an opportunity for the game to become something really, really cool that will be really, really fun to play. Will it actually get there? I don't know. I think it will. If it does get, if I think it does get there, if I get it there and I go, I would rather play this than Vampire Survivors any day. Will that be because I'm tired of Vampire Survivors? Or will it be because my game is really cool? And will it be because my game is really cool, or because I think my game is really cool? And I was just talking to some guy in the comments on YouTube about game developers who build games and what they think needs work as opposed to what actually does need work. And usually the thing that needs the most work is the thing you really don't want to fuck with because it's your favorite part. That's my experience looking at other people's shit. So I try to bear that in mind when I look at my own shit. The thing that I love the most about my product is probably the most fucked up bullshit that everybody hates. So if people don't like my product, that's the first place I should look, is the thing that I like the most. Kill your darlings is what they say in the writing community. Kill your darlings. Do you love it? Do you think it's the greatest thing ever? Then you are not making an objective decision. Show it to someone else and ask them what they think, and pay attention to what they say, and don't defend your shit. God, that's so hard. It is so hard when you love something and you say, what do you think about this? And somebody says, that's fucking garbage. No, it's not. It's not garbage. This is good. You're stupid. You don't know what you're talking about. You got to bite your tongue. You got to shut the fuck up, and you got to let them tell you why it's garbage. They're probably wrong. They're probably wrong. It's probably not garbage. You can probably fix it, but let them explain why it's garbage. Just fucking suck it up. Because there's a solid chance it is garbage, and you may have to admit that it's garbage. This idea that your experience is your health. That means that as you lose health, you lose experience. And as you lose experience, you lose levels. What does that mean? And at present, I have an idea about what that means. But I'm wandering, I'm digressing. I'm running out of liquor. I should get more liquor. I love liquor. I don't understand why anybody on the planet wants to not be intoxicated ever. You may need to not be intoxicated because you have shit to do and you can't be intoxicated to do that shit. That may be something you need to do. But if you're not going to be doing anything where you need to be sober, why the fuck would you not want to be intoxicated? Semi-related, why the fuck do people like weed? I like liquor. Liquor's good. Liquor I enjoy. Weed. Why do you people like this? I have this 100 milligram white chocolate truffle gummy here. It's been sitting around for a while. I had 2 of them. I took one. And why do people like this? It fucks with my perception of time. I'm not good at understanding how much time has passed, what time it is, what I've been doing, how long I've been doing it. It's just really fucking annoying. I got really drunk once, and I wrote something that did. I would have told you. Most of you are not going to understand this, but what I wrote is I wrote a system that embedded a CRC32 in its own data stream. The error checking code is part of the data that's being checked for errors. So if that data changed the error checking would change. It's infinitely recursive. And I solved that problem with matrix algebra. There's only one problem. I don't understand matrix algebra. I was possessed by the soul of somebody who's better at maths than I am. And I wrote something that I thought was impossible using skills I don't have in a discipline that I don't understand. So I kind of feel like being drunk has benefits. The only other thing that I've found to have benefit, meth. My fucking God, I loved meth. Jeez. And that sounds awful. And this is the thing. I did meth exactly once because, number one, I didn't smoke it. I snorted it. And if you want to know what it's like to snort meth, get yourself a blowtorch and just spray it directly up your nose. Just shoot the flame straight up your fucking nose. I have come to learn that that the particular meth that I snorted, meth comes in basically two varieties. There's the biker crank version, which may have battery acid impurities, which makes it kind of yellow. And there's the synthetic lab created version, which has it has other impurities, and those impurities make it just slightly blue. Breaking Bad kind of got this right, because if you're doing lab meth, then you get kind of a blue tinge instead of kind of a yellow tinge, but it doesn't go like bright fucking neon blue. It's like you hold it up to the light, and when you do the best job possible at it, it's like Jesse said, man, it's fucking glass. You can see right through it. There's no tinge whatsoever. That's perfect. All right? But if it's not so great, then your lab meth that's made by a chemist who's got equipment and uses chemicals, it comes out kind of sort of a little blue tinge. And if it's made by bikers in a Walmart bathroom, then it's got a slightly different tinge because the impurities are sulfuric acid. So my meth was a little bit golden, just a little, and that's snorting sulfuric acid, which was not pleasant, as you might imagine. So yeah, that's the reason for that. And anyway, that's way too much information. But I'm gonna be so fucking limited on you. Like, none of you are gonna see this. But yeah, I took meth once. It was the most amazing experience of my life. I could think so clearly. I could act so easily. I got so much done. I couldn't fucking sleep. Of course I got shit done. And when it finally wore off, there was this huge crash, a massive fucking crash. I felt like such absolute garbage when I came down off it. And I went, this is what people tell me cocaine is like. They tell me I've never done like snort cocaine. I've smoked crack, but I've never done like snort cocaine. And smoking crack is just like, you're like, hey, wow, man, this is great. And then you're like, fuck, my life sucks. Everything's terrible. And you want to do more crack, and you gotta resist that. You gotta go in going, I'm gonna feel great for 20 minutes, and then I'm gonna feel like shit for 45. Wait a minute, that's not a good trade. And you know, you work that out and you stop smoking crack. Flavor Flav knows that. Anyway, they say that when you sniff cocaine, it turns you into a new man. And the first thing the new man wants is more cocaine. Well, the first time I did meth, the first thing the new man wanted was more meth. And I went, okay, I'm not going to do that, because literally I could spend every fucking dollar I have buying meth. And that's probably a bad idea. Like, this is the first time I'm doing meth. I should see what doing meth is like. And it did, in fact, make me into a new man. And that new man wanted more meth. And that new man got so much shit done and felt so good and managed so much stuff. And then that man crashed and felt like fucking garbage. I felt like dog shit. I felt like dog shit on the bottom of somebody's shoe who was running a marathon. It sucked. Oh my God, the worst goddamn crash. I felt like such absolute shit. And the whole time I'm feeling like absolute shit, I have that vague awareness. There's that little voice in the back of my head going, you should just take some more meth. But I didn't, and powered through it. And once I got back up, I was like, if I ever do that again, if I ever take meth again, I'm just never going to stop. I'm going to take meth until my heart explodes. Because that was a great place to be. And it was a shitty place to leave. And I would really, really like to go back to that place. And I would really, really hate to leave that place and just... I know me. I know who I am. I am an addictive, obsessive personality. That's the way I am. The obsessive, Huang Le in Starfield. Why? She's nobody. She's nothing. That's why. That's exactly why. Because there's nothing to her, you get to fill in the blanks. I am wandering so far off topic. There was a thing that I wanted to talk about. There was a thing I wanted to talk about that I was really, really focused on, and then I had a few drinks. And now I don't want to focus on it, and I need to focus on it. I need to demonstrate why alcohol is different. Well, number one, when I'm done with the drink, I can stop. I have had trouble with that with other things. I have had trouble with the, that's enough, I'm going to stop. I've had trouble with other stuff. So, regardless, the thing that I wanted to focus on is games. And I am talking about and thinking about games, and that's kind of the subject here. And we're not going to do any actual coding, but I am going to talk about game design philosophy. And here's the thing. What Rim DeCosta went over in his discussion, how every game is the same, is he boiled it all down, and he said at the core it comes down to mechanics. And I have some notes I took here that that's the wrong notes. What where are the notes I had? God damn it, I wrote them in the middle of something, didn't I? There we go. This one. Yeah, okay. So he says there are basically 7 game mechanics. And those 7 game mechanics are, number 1, randomness. You roll dice. Number 2, arbitrary. You shuffle and deal cards. Then you have perfect information, which is where everybody can see the board, everybody can see all the stuff that's going on. And then you have the knowledge game. The knowledge game is based on the knowledge that you have. And Trivial Pursuit would be a good example of this game. That's the example he used. And then you have politics, which is basically vote who wins. It's the relationships. The players will decide among themselves who the winner of the game is. And then you have sport. Sport is about skills that the players possess. And finally, you have the test of wealth. And this is just pay to win. This is just your pay to win games. If you have a lot of money, you can buy all of the shit and you can win the game. And I was looking at that and I went, these 7 mechanics really boil down the kind of 3 related mechanics. And those 3 related mechanics are, number 1, the appearance of information. The appearance of information is either emergent, the information doesn't exist until you need it, and then you generate only the information you need and no further information. That'd be like dice. Then you have arranged. Arranged is provided at the beginning. Arranged information would be like you shuffle a deck of cards, and then the deck of cards is shuffled. Each result that comes out of the arranged series of results alters that series of results. Which brings up an interesting point. If you generate 100 dice rolls ahead of time, it changes nothing compared to just rolling the dice 100 times as you need to. Because each individual piece of information doesn't affect the next. But a deck of cards, on the other hand, each card that comes out of the deck is a card that can no longer be in the deck, and that alters the odds, that alters the possibilities, that alters what you could do, that alters what your possible results are. So you could use that to make decisions, and that makes the difference in how the game unfolds. Finally, you have provided information, and provided information is brought to the game by the player. In other words, knowledge you have outside of the game is applicable to the game. Then you have the question of access. You have public, partial, and private, okay? Public access is where all players have access to the information. All information in the game is accessible to all of the players. Then you have partial access, where some players have access to the information. You may have some information that you could turn around and you can give to another player, and then the two of you have information. Or there are other ways that you might have partial information. In Cosmic Encounter. Cosmic Encounter has a power system. And by the book, by the official rules, you get 1 power face up at the beginning of the game. That's public information. Everybody has access to that information. There's a variant called secret powers, where your power is a secret, and you only reveal the power the first time you use it. So you can have the power, and you can sit there with the power, and then late in the game you can go, oops, I have this power, and immediately the power takes effect. We used to play with secret powers, and there is additionally the multiple powers variant, which can go either with secret powers or without secret powers. So instead of dealing 1 power to people, you deal multiple powers to people, 2 or 3. And those powers may or may not be something you can keep secret. We used to play multiple powers and secret powers, but we went beyond this. We had a system I created. We used to do a system called Pass Left, where you would be dealt 5 powers. and you would choose from those powers 3 powers that you had, and then you would pass 1 power to your left. And the person to your right would obviously pass 1 power to you. You could exchange one of those 3 powers for the power you just got passed. Basically, you looked at your 5 powers, you chose 1 to discard, but you didn't just discard it, you gave it to the person to your left. So you now know 1 of the 5 powers that the person to your left is selecting from. You don't know whether they selected it, but you know they had it to select. I created the Evil Pass. And the Evil Pass is you get 5 powers. And you select 3 of them. And then you pass 1 to each of the people on your left and right. And they can either take that power or not take that power. If they take the power, you know they took it. And if they don't take the power, you know they didn't. But either way, they only end up with 3 powers. So they could either exchange a power for it, or they could not exchange a power for it. From their 3 powers, they get to, they know that they get. Hold on, let me think through this. I've been drinking. You know one of the powers they got to select from. But the modified Evil Pass was the really terrible thing, because you got 3 powers to start with and 5 additional powers, and your 3 original powers went face down, and then you had 5 more powers. And you could exchange any of your 3 powers for any of these 5 powers. But when you were done exchanging, you would then take 2 powers and pass them to your left, and 2 powers and pass them to your right, and the 5th power you would discard face up. So everybody knew 1 power you didn't take. And when you got the 4 powers that you got from other people, you could exchange any of the powers you had for powers that you got, ending up with a total of 3 powers. And when you were done, you could discard your 3 powers face up. The information that you had about other people's powers was complex. The information you had about what powers other people had given up was complex. You knew for every single player 4 powers they didn't want, because they had something better. And you also knew when you passed 2 powers to the player to your left, and they discarded their 3 powers in the middle of the table, you knew if one of the 2 you gave them was missing, or if both of them were missing. The political intrigue that resulted from this was insane, and it was fucking awesome. I loved it. I really did. I really loved it. And we did all kinds of variations on that. We did one where you passed the cards all the way around the table until the cards had been passed 1 to the left every time, and you had 3 powers, and you had 5 in your hand, and you would pass to the left. You pass to the left, pass to the left, you pass to the left, until you got the hand you started with again, and you could see the cards you started with had changed. And you could see what cards were missing out of the 5 you started with. You knew somebody had those cards. but you didn't know whom. I fucking love Cosmic Encounter. It's such a great fucking game. It is the greatest goddamn game. It's incredible. I miss playing Cosmic Encounter. Anyway, that kind of information where you give players like different amounts of access to information, public, partial, and private, where only one player has access to the information. And finally, you have the question of skill. You have skill that comes from your health. It's the iron triangle of what people buy: health, wealth, and relationships. People want to be stronger and smarter and healthier. They want to improve their bodies and themselves as human beings. They want to improve the amount of money that they have. They want to improve their ability to interact with others. Health, wealth, relationships. That's it, okay? And it's like, it's you and your career and your family. That's what it is. What's important to you? You, your career, your family. Yourself, your career, your family. Self, career, family. That's critical. Those are the three things that you're always thinking about. Those are the three niches that you can always go into. If you can help somebody improve their health, they will give you money. If you can help somebody improve their wealth, they will give you money. If you can help somebody improve their relationships, they will give you money. That's how you make fucking money. Health, wealth, relationships. Notice that I am not doing any of those things. I am not helping anybody with any of those things. So, nobody's giving me any fucking money. This is intentional. Anyway, you boil all of this down, and what you have is you have fundamentally 27 different core game mechanics. It is just 3 by 3 by 3, the way that you can categorize things. And it's funny that I divide things into 3 threes, because if you go back to art fundamentals, 3 threes, okay, you've got perspective, lighting, and composition. Perspective is line, shape, and form. Lighting is value, color, and texture. Composition is flow, construction, and layering. And all of those make up the fundamentals of art. And funnily enough, when I'm talking about how you describe game mechanics, it's 3 threes. There's emergent, arranged, and provided information. There's public, partial, and private access. There's skills, possessions, and relationships. It's the TMI triangle. It's time, material, influence. It's how much time do you have to work on something? How much material do you have to invest in something? How much influence do you have to make other people do something? I always divide everything into threes, and then I divide it into 3 threes, and you put the 3 and the 3 threes and together into one category, and you get a 13. And I like 13s, and that's the way that I am, is I like that kind of thing. Anyway, I was thinking very deeply and seriously about this, and about the nature of emergent, arranged, and provided information, of public, partial, and private access, and about how that impacts agency and how that impacts things in games. And I feel like a lot of what upsets people about games is when your skills, possessions, and relationships impact your performance in the game. Because it's like, if we go through this, okay, you've got random dice rolls, okay? That is emergent information, and all players have access to that. You roll the dice, all the players see the dice that you roll. Then you have arbitrary. You have the dealt cards, okay? That is arranged information, and it's private. Only one player has access. You are the only person who can. You deal out a poker hand, okay? You deal it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I pick up my poker hand and I take a look at it, okay? I'm the only person who has that information. Nobody else has that information. However, if you play 7-card stud, okay? I should be shuffling like on camera so you can see that I am a cardist. But if you're playing 7-card stud, you've got 2 cards face down, 4 cards face up. In this case, I've got a 9 of diamonds, 10, and king of clubs, and an ace of spades, and then you get 1 more card face down. Okay? That's partial information. You can only see 4 cards of the other person's hand. There's some uncertainty. But the individual player can see I've got a 5 of clubs, I got a 7 of spades, and I've got a king of hearts. Now what I've got here is I've got a pair of kings. I think that's all I got. Yeah, it's just a pair of kings. The best hand that I can make out of this, I've got my whole cards are the king, 7, and 5. And my up cards are the 9, 10, king, and ace. Now, the best I can do is to add the king. And then I've got a 9, king, 9, 10, ace. I've got a pair of kings, ace high. Okay? This is the best I can do. But you have to ask. If you don't know what I've got, if you just know I've got a 9, 10, king, and ace, how sure are you that I don't have a jack and a queen in here? It's not a royal flush because they're not the same suit, but if I've got a jack and a queen in here, that's a straight that you can't beat. You would need a straight flush to beat it. So that's a seriously high-powered place to be working in poker. Really ought to do more card shuffling on camera. I don't really talk much about my extensive background with cards, but I do feel like on some level y'all recognize that the cards I own are not just normal cards. That they're cards for a very specific audience that I would not own if I were not in that audience. But nobody ever mentions it. So I guess so I don't have a lot of people in my audience that cross over with that audience, so I just kind of hope somebody notices. Nobody ever does. Anyway. That public, partial, private thing with access to information, that's one major thing. That's an element of the game. People are fine with that. But when you start having individual differences outside of the game, and you start talking about skills, possessions, and relationships, those are about things that you develop outside of the game. I love things you develop outside of the game. I love that you come into this game and you can bring in the stuff that you developed outside of the game and it makes you better at the game. I love that. I love when you can read the wiki for a game and it makes you better. I don't have that in my game. Not yet. I will have it in my game. But I'm also going to build the wiki into it, because I like that too. It's like in Vampire Survivors, you have the bestiary. I know some people say bestiary. That's not how you pronounce the word. It's the bestiary. um, you've got all of that information about all of the different creatures and monsters that you could fight, and I want to do that in my game. I want to have that in my game. I want to have like all of the information about the stuff, and I want to have it there so like you don't know that a particular weapon exists until you find it, but then when you do find it, there's an entry in the encyclopedia, and you go and you look at it, and when you go and look at it, it tells you about it, and what it tells you about it sometimes, I don't think I can always do this, but I think sometimes reading the encyclopedia entry for a particular weapon or for a particular monster will give you information that's useful in the game. I would really like to do that. But regardless, the vote who wins in sport and test of wealth, I mean, those are flat out skills, possessions, relationships. That's built in. That's right there. What about information? Well, information is a type of possession. I know people will occasionally complain about that and say, no, it's a thing it's a skill. It's a thing that you do. Knowing a thing from Wikipedia is a skill. No, it's a possession. It's a thing that you bought with your time. Relationships can be something you form in game, or they can be something that you already formed outside of the game. I used to play Dungeons and Dragons every week with a group of people that included a married couple. And the wife in that couple did not give a single shit about playing Dungeons and Dragons. She didn't care at all. She didn't know a fucking thing. She was a puppet for her husband to control. Her husband would tell her what to do and she would do it. And you would think that, like, I would get mad at that and go, what the fuck? You know, it's just like, you're getting to play two characters. So why don't you just send your wife home to do whatever she wants to do and just play the two characters? But the thing was, he honestly wanted her to play the game and have fun on her own. And I watched this guy for, God, I don't remember how many years. I met him when I was 14, and we were friends until I was like 15, or not 15, but 29. So like, for 15 years, I watched this guy try like hell to get his wife interested and engaged and involved. And like at first, I kind of felt like he was being an abusive jackass to her, making her play a game she didn't want to play. But by the end, I felt like she was being abusive to him. I felt like she was being the jackass because he wanted her to engage with his thing that he loved and be part of this thing that he enjoyed. And she was just willfully refusing. And I look back on that. And I look at how it kind of shaded into that. How it went from, this motherfucker is trying to make his wife play a game she doesn't want to play. And it just kind of gradually shaded into, this guy is trying to share the thing he loves with his wife. And she just refuses to share it. It's all a matter of perspective. When you watch somebody for 15 years aggressively refuse to give a shit about the thing their partner loves most in the world, it's just a different thing. Man, Lee would be 85 years old now. I don't think he made it this far. We had a falling out in the mid-90s. Well, late 90s, really. It's around, what was it, 96? Okay, 96, so 10 years. I knew this guy for 10 years. A little more. 11, 12 years. And he suggested my wife should give him a blowjob one too many times. And I said, dude, fuck you. That's my wife. I feel stupid about that now. I'm just like, I don't like that you were telling my wife that she should come over and give you a blowjob. And I feel like you should stop that. But it's because my wife didn't want to be invited over to give you a blowjob. I don't fucking care if my wife sucks your dick. I think if my wife wants to suck your dick, my wife should suck your dick. That's just the way I feel about it. But she didn't, and I still think you should have shut up. Would I have ended the friendship over it today? I don't know. Maybe? I think on some level, I might have told my wife, hey, you know, if you want to go suck his dick, go ahead. And then her reaction would have driven how I treated that friendship. I don't know that there's any meaningful content in this entire video, but yeah, YouTube is not going to like. I think that's going to be the title of this video. Showing up, YouTube is not going to like any of this. Yeah. There's that division into three. There's that division into three, and then into 3 threes, and then that's a 13. I do that over and over. That's very much a thing that I do. So you've got emergent, arranged, and provided information. You've got public, partial, and private information. And you've got skills, possessions, and relationships that come in from outside of the game. I like that. I like when you can bring stuff in from outside the game. I think you should do that. I don't have a problem with pay to win. Because I don't give a shit about rankings. I'm not going to be number one in the rankings ever. So the difference between me being number 15,000 in the rankings and being number 184,000 in the rankings is I don't fucking care. So pay to win doesn't bother me. Pay to win doesn't bother me. The only thing that bothers me is, can I afford to win? Not against other people. I don't give a shit about other people. Can I afford to have fun in this game? That's the important thing. Can I afford to have fun in this game? That's what matters to me. And I think if you can afford to have fun in a game for free, you should. And if you can afford to have fun in a game only by dumping hundreds of dollars into it, that's fine. But it's all up to you. I feel like it's very individual. I feel like it's a very individual choice how much money you're going to spend on a game. And I typically choose to spend absolutely fucking nothing on a game. But I understand people that do choose to spend money on a game. And I think they should spend their money on the smartest thing for them to spend money on, which includes things that will make them win the game. I will be annoyed if a multiplayer game matches me with a player who has spent $2,000 on shit to win the game, and he wins. But I'll think it's really fucking awesome if the game matches me with somebody who spent $2,000 to win the game and he loses. I think that'd be really fucking cool. But and you know, it's one of those things where cosmetic only purchases, they're fucking pointless. Like, why would you even bother? They're not going to make you better at the game. They're not going to make you enjoy the game more. They're just, I mean, why would you spend real money on fake shit you could pretend to wear in your game? I do not understand. I will never understand. But my character doesn't look the way I want. My character never looked the way that I wanted. I mean, back in the day, back in the 90s, it's like you play a game of Half-Life and it was like, here's Gordon Freeman. And it's like, oh, he looks like butt. Nothing to be done about it. It's just that's how he is. Just is how he is. And things have changed so tremendously in game. They really have. But I feel like this cosmetic only shit is pointless. Like, spend money on our game and you'll get nothing. What? No, I'm not spending money on your game then. I don't understand a lot of people. I really don't. And I have to be very clear about this. I don't understand why people spend hundreds of dollars on cosmetics. I don't know why they would do that. If they do, I feel like those people should be like, well, there's a good reason I would want to do that. Oh, I don't care what it is. So as long as you agree there's a good reason, as long as you think, oh, I should have spent this money on this bullshit. Okay. Because I know people who own Ferraris. You spent $400,000 on a car? Yeah, because I don't care why. You wanted to spend $400,000 on a car? Yeah. You had $400,000 to spend on a car? Yeah. Okay, that's fine then. You do you, man. It's kind of the same way with trans people. I mean, it's just like, you spent $350,000 on surgery for what? Okay, I don't care why. It doesn't matter. You do you, man, woman, whatever the fuck. You tell me. I don't care. You are what you are, and that's cool. Why did you spend all that money on it? No, seriously, you spent how much? How much did you spend? I feel like that's a lot of what's wrong in the perception of the transgender community, is the awareness that the surgery costs like $500,000. And I think that really upsets people, but the only reason it costs that much is that so few people want it and so few people perform it. I fundamentally don't feel like the surgery for a trans person is any different than a facelift or a nose job. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know. It's just maybe the nerve configuration, maybe that's really difficult. If I were to speculate about the biggest problem in a transgender bottom surgery, it would be how do you turn a penis into a vagina that is capable of orgasm and self-lubrication? How do you do that? What? How? How do you turn a clitoris into a penis that is capable of orgasm and ejaculation? Is that even a thing we can do? Because, look, I don't know about anybody else. For those of you that don't know, I am 100% pansexual, and I'm totally familiar with like fucking people that have dicks, and the part where they ejaculate, that's the best part. So if you can't turn a clitoris into a penis that ejaculates, what fucking good is it? I mean, could we? Is that a thing that we could do? Is that I don't know. I'm not familiar with all of this stuff. I need a trans person to come in. A trans person needs to come in here and educate me on this, because I really need to know the answer to this. And I'm aware that it's intolerant and prejudiced and probably bigoted for me to say, look, if you can't come, your dick's worthless. Yeah, if you can't get an erection and you can't ejaculate, then it's a worthless, it's a fake dick. It's not even a real dick, and I don't care. And that begs a lot of questions. There are a lot of questions you have to ask about that. It's like, I'm sure there are people out there who say, fucking somebody with a dick would be great if it weren't for the part where they ejaculate. Ew, that's gross. There's got to be people out there who think that. So if we can't make a penis that ejaculates out of a clitoris, which I think is likely, I don't know for a fact. I'm not, certain about it. But there's certainly, if that's all we can do, there's a demographic who wants that and likes that, and that's the thing that they're interested in. And you get a message to market match on that. I spend a lot of time thinking about trans people, because I have a lot of trans people in my feed on social media. And I get a little window into their life. I get a little window into who they are and what they're like. But it's like I'm never going to be on the other side of that window. I'm never going to understand who they are and what they experience. And I wish I could. I just don't wish it hard enough to go and try it. I don't want to take estrogen and progesterone and all of that shit. I don't want to do all of the hormone treatments and all of that garbage. Certainly don't want to go and have surgery. I like my dick. I'm going to keep my dick because I think I have a pretty fucking good dick. And I think everybody who's ever experienced my dick will go, hey, it's a pretty good dick. So I don't want to change anything about me, but it's just like there's this whole world that I don't fucking understand. And I don't think I ever will understand it. And there's lots of worlds like that. There's lots of worlds like I'll never know what it's like to be black. I'll never know what it's like to be an immigrant. I will never know what it's like to be just like a woman. I'll never know what it's like to be disabled. I'll never know what it is to be quadriplegic. I'll never know what it is to be deaf, what it is to be blind, what it is to be any number of things. I will never know what it is to be a dwarf. I'm 6 feet tall. I used to be 6'2". Then I lifted a bunch of heavy weights, and now I'm only 6 foot. Because that shit happens. But there's all these things I'll never experience. And I think the trans experience specifically bugs me because there's no reason I can't. Like, I can't be black. I can't be born a woman. I can't be an immigrant to the United States. But I could be trans. It'd take a while. It'd be a lot of work, but I could. It's a thing that I could do. I don't want to, but I could. And I think that's one of the reasons that it bothers me so much, because it's just like I could do that, but I don't do that. It's just like I could smoke crack, so I did. And I could take meth, so I did. And I could smoke weed, so I did. And I could take edibles, so I did. Because those are important experiences. And I could be trans, but fuck that shit. I don't want to do that. I wish I knew what it was to do that. But I don't want to. And I don't entirely know what that means. I don't entirely understand what that says about me. And there are, if anybody is still watching this hour-plus video about nothing, there are undoubtedly people that are going, his egg's gonna crack. Nope. Definitely a man. Definitely gonna stay a man. Not because I have to, but because I'm fine. It's okay. I have no distress from being a man. I just have mild distress from going, aw, man. Trans people get to do stuff I don't get to do. They get to take drugs I don't get to take. They get to have surgery I don't get to have. They get to experience life in a way that I don't. Oh, wait, they experience life by being discriminated against and having bigotry directed at them at every turn and getting the shit beat out of them for no good reason, losing their job for no good reason, and not being able to get a job for no good reason. Oh yeah, that's an experience that sucks. I don't want that experience. I want to understand things. That's the problem. I want to understand things. But there are things you can't understand without, like, believing things. There's understanding and belief that go hand in hand. You must believe that a thing is true before you can understand what that thing is. And I do believe the gender binary is absolute fucking horseshit. The idea that we're divided cleanly into men and women is crap. There's a big wide band in between, and there's a somewhat less wide band on the outsides. It's like there are a bunch of men that are not men, but they're not women. They're like something else. And there are a bunch of non-binary people that they're not men, they're not women, they're gender fluid, they're non-binary. That's kind of like they occupy this in-between space. And then there are a bunch of women that are like, they're not women, they're not men, they're not women either. I think there's this big space. And I think we've got these two narrow bands within that space. And I fit cleanly within this one narrow band. But there are lots of bands, and I don't have to stay in this one. If I didn't want to be here, I could leave. I don't know. I think the binary is horseshit. I think it's way more complicated than we've ever really discussed. I don't know why we ended up here. We were talking about game mechanics. How did we end up talking about game mechanics? Oh, because it kind of sounds like gay mechanics. I don't know how we ended up here. Anyway, I hope some of this was interesting and helpful to you. I'm fucking drunk. Okay, bye.